Okay, welcome again to another live stream. Now what we've got today is just going to show you an overview of what I've been up to with the board game in paint.net. So the game board is, well, firstly I've got the different layers, so that I can put the layer that I want. Then I can put in a discussion topics, for example. I've also got the world map. Now I've also got the baronies that I've created, and where are we? Okay, so I've got a couple of things to show you. So first things first, we've got the special source map in the center, and what I've got is all the geopolitical players around the outside. Now I've changed the around the outside of it. I've got Alpha, Bravo, Charlie, Delta, X-ray, etc., all the way along the top, and then I've got the numbers going down. So there's basically makes it a lot easier to navigate around the board. So when people need to, they can describe to me which one it is, and I can get to it. Now, having said that, things like that, the Samurai shield there, may be that I need to drop it down so that the rows with their alphanumeric can basically be seen a lot easier. You can kind of work it out, but I want to make it so it's easier for people to understand what's going on. I was actually thinking about another layer at the bottom there, but I really do want to try to have, was it 23? Yeah, 23 cells there. So yeah, so what I've got here in this, I'll go and zoom in a bit further. Now what I've got is the ability to add detail across to the right of these, and then these geopolitical players off to the left of them. These ones going to the top. So each of them should have 4 additional cells that can be filled with details and data and things like that. Now the other thing that can be done is that if the geopolitical player just here, which is, say for example, the Appraisers Guild Grandmaster and companions, and that they want to hire some adventurers, then the adventurers could be put into these positions. Alternatively, if the Appraiser Guild Grandmaster is actually hiring a group of 20, then there should be enough room there for them. So that's one option that I didn't consider previously. So all the geopolitical players are around the outside of the map. So if this was to be printed out on a board or on paper or whatever, then this could be how it's represented. So people could be sitting around the table. It's a fairly big table, but it can be moved around. Now I've got another intention, which is, for example, I'm just going to do an example right now, which is I want to experiment with tokens and things like this. So let's just say, well, I could number them. I'll give this a go. Okay, why did it not work? Okay, maybe because I'm in the wrong cell. There we go. Alright, so that doesn't help us. Let's try again. We'll basically go and put a star. Alright, now I'm going to fill that star. No, I'm going to, before I do that, Geo Players, I'm going to create another layer called Geo Player Tokens. Now, for example, people could put their own, if they wanted to, they could send me, let's just say this color here. There we go. Alright, so the token here can be placed on the map, for example here, and you could put in where they happen to be, and then as they progress the token could be moved. This means jumping around to different layers, so as they're going down the road, for example, that could be a way of doing things. The token doesn't need to be that big. So it could be that there's many of these tokens occupying, and it may be that I can possibly insert a serial number. If I go back into Excel, for example, let's just try that while I'm in Excel. Okay, so I'm just going to grab a blank worksheet. I don't think that I can do this, but I'm going to try. Insert illustrations, shapes. Let's just try the star again. No, it's not going to let me do it. What I was hoping to do was to have a manual, no, so an automatically generated. I'll just cut that, exit out of that, don't save that, go into tokens, put the token down, and then I'm going to type in here okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, now let's just check out legibility. Alright, where'd it go? Alright, we're starting to lose a little bit of the legibility. I mean, I could put a space in between the numbers. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 7. For example, no. But anyway, the thing is that I can maybe use a better font size and things like this. But it really, in the scheme of things, doesn't really matter that much, because as you can see on the map, that little star there doesn't really take up much space. Maybe not blues, maybe not greens, so it won't get stuck on the board as a... But there's lots of combinations that I can use. Anyway, that's just an exploration of that. Anyway, so moving on. As I said, we've got all the geopolitical players here. Now, I've also got all of the people living in these locations. So the title deed will be cut out of this location and pasted into the loot. Then we've got, as you can see, 60 of 240. And then we've got all the people who are in the town. Then so on, so on. We've got, if I tried to make it so that there are spaces in between. So this is the current population, but as you can see, the population can increase. So I've got enough room to increase there, and then an entire row in the B column just there. It may be that that's insufficient and we need to work out another way. I was considering making one of these maps per town. So sorry, one of these layers per town, so that the town and the map can be one for each of those. Then I think that I might have to do the same thing with villages, as in do one layer for each of them. It may be that in fact I have to create a second paint.net file to store that kind of information. Look, just to start with, I'm trying to keep it onto the same paint.net file so that I can keep control of it. Makes it easier for me to copy and paste and things like this, just for demonstration purposes. So in the live environment, it may be that I break them up a little bit more than what they're broken up here and put them into their own categories. So I think I showed last time about the town, for example, and so that's a town map, and each of these pixels is 1 foot. I think we talked about that previously. So it is possible to have all the people who are in the town on this side here, and then they're associated with it, and so a lot of information could be stored on this particular layer. So just for record keeping and things like that, it might make sense to do it that way. Anyways, the other thing I wanted to show was, alright, well, I will do it. So there's black, and then there's, alright, so say for example this layer here, which is the loot layer. Now let's just say that there's a loot drop. So the loot drop results in the group, the geopolitical group, finding some treasure. So I'm going to click on that, and I've clicked on the wrong one, and I'm going to click on the right one now. Alright, that's it. Okay, so I can now, well, I'm going to have to maybe tighten up the way that I use it, but now it's going to hopefully work. As you can see, it just erased something just there. I'm not sure if you can see. Yes, you can. So I'm going to zoom in on that. I'm going to grab the eraser. Maybe I'll set it to 100. Okay, so what we've got here is alright, a promissory note. So if there's a price of trade with every geopolitical move that's sanctioned during this time period, then it gives the priest of trade the opportunity to basically do some nasty deals with people. In this case, they've basically traded whatever loot is found during the encounter. they've basically taken it and they've provided a promissory note for 9,444 silver pieces for what they've found. So I've just revealed the card just by randomly putting the eraser tool down. So I'll do the same thing again. Let's just say here, and then I'll zoom in. So as for what I'm going to reveal, where I'm going to reveal it, so the card that I'm revealing is just here. Another promissory note, looks like. This one is for 96,000 silver pieces. So it's not a bad loot drop. So the whole idea of using the scratchy function, like using either the two-part mix or the chalk spray, could be the way that loot is allocated in the same way. So anyway, one final one we'll just do here. Okay, what have we got here? Looks like we've got some kind of alright, we have, for some reason, somebody has commissioned a binder to create a water elemental apron. So this apron, when worn, firstly will give you some protection against the opposed element. So this will protect against fire, and it's a water elemental, so that should protect you against anything except for greater elementals of the fire persuasion. Now the next thing is that down the bottom, what I've done is I've made a calculation that has effectively each of the elemental creatures will have effects. It'll have powers that it can use. And in this case, this particular water elemental that has been bound to the apron, it has restore hearing as a power. So now I think I'm not sure if I've spoken to anybody about it before on the live streaming, but the concept I've got in mind is that if an elemental creature is destroyed, that if the elemental creature has these powers, that the elemental, either the items that are present that have elementals bound within them, may share in the power. So the power is passed on to close by elemental creatures and objects and things like that, so the power is absorbed. So by starting off, this water elemental only has 1 power, but if it's in close proximity to an elemental that is destroyed, then it will absorb that power. Now, we'll get to that later, but anyway, the main thing is I wanted to show how the loot allocation can be achieved in some kind of like sort of random fashion. It's not really possible to be completely random, but you can try. A lot of it comes down to the way that I choose to distribute the... Okay, so that's that. What else haven't I shown recently? No, I think that's about it. I'm going to continue onwards. What I have to do is the encounters. I'm working on the encounters at the moment, putting the grid together for those. Then I also need to do a similar grid for the outcomes of encounters. So I'll do that as well. And so maybe if I hopefully finish that off, it'll be ready for the next live stream. So again, thanks for joining, if you're joining in on this one. And if you've got further information, you can always, if you want to find out more information, you can go to renegadelarp.com, and the other alternative is that you can send me a message, and then I'll make contact, and I'll answer those questions during a live stream. So, all right, thank